Hi guys, welcome to the How to Crack the Java interview. Today we'll discuss some of the Spring and Spring Boot interview question by asked by one of the interviewer in Wells Fargo interview. Okay, discuss first is what is the difference between the arthed bean and the arthed component. Second one is the flow of the Spring MVC. What are the components are there? And the third one is how many containers are created in Spring application. Okay, we'll go one by one. First one is what is the difference between arthed bean annotation and arthed configure annotation. Actually, arthed bean annotation is a method level annotation, whereas arthed component annotation is a class level annotation. Arthed component annotation does not does not need to use with arthed configuration. But whereas but arthed bean annotation has to be used within the class annotated with arthed configuration. And and arthed bean annotation, you can use arthed bean annotation if you want to create a bean of a class from the outside of the library, meaning from the external library, then you can use for the arthed bean. It is not possible in arthed component because arthed component is the class level annotation. We cannot edit the class, but you can declare a method annotated with arthed bean and return the object of that class if it is in outside of a library. Okay, we'll see what is the difference. These are the difference. First is bean. Other bean annotation is the method level annotation. Other component is the class level annotation. Other component does not need to use with other configuration, but other bean annotation has to be used within the class annotated with other configuration. Actually, both arthed bean and arthed component annotation used to create the bean that can be injected with each other. And if you want to create a bean of a class from outside of the external library, you cannot do by the arthed component annotation because it is a class level annotation. Class cannot be edited, but but it can be possible by arthed bean annotation. It is a method level annotation with a method and it will return the object of that class. Okay, we'll go to the next question. These are the difference between arthed bean and arthed component annotation. Then we'll go to the next question. What is the flow of the Spring MVC? What are the components in the Spring MVC? One is the dispatcher servlet, another is the handler mapping, another is the controller, another the view result. What they are doing in the Spring MVC. Okay, we'll go to paint. We'll discuss what is the flow of we'll discuss the flow of spring spring MVC flow. Spring MVC flow we'll discuss. Okay. Okay, first we'll create a dispatcher servlet. First we'll create a dispatcher servlet. First we'll create a dispatcher servlet. Then one controller. Then one controller. Then one service class. Then another DO class. Final is the database. Final is the DB. Then before controller request will go to the handler mapping. That is my handler mapping. Then I'll create one view resolver here. Yeah, last result will go to the view. That is my view. Okay, first request will come to the dispatcher servlet. Request will come to the dispatcher servlet. That is the entry point of your application. It's called the dispatcher servlet. Dispatcher servlet will configure in web.xml, ASP, dispatcher servlet, dispatcher servlet. First is the dispatcher servlet. First is the dispatcher servlet. PAT, dispatcher spelling PAT, HER, dispatcher servlet. Then here is my viewer is my handler mapping and the layer handler mapping. Then here is my controller class. Controller class have execute method. Have just example my controller class have some execute method. Then next one is service class. Service. Then this is my DAO class. Then this one is DB. Last one is DB. Okay. Fast request will come to the dispatcher servlet. Okay. Here is my view resolver. View resolver. Last one is my view. View. Just like HTML page, JSP page. These are my view. Okay. Fast request will come to the. This one is the fast request. Request will come to the dispatcher servlet. Dispatcher servlet will send the same request to the send the same request to the handler mapping. Then handler mapping will send the controller name to the send the controller name to the send the controller name to the dispatcher servlet. Actually handler mapping will use that request and send the controller name to the handler mapping. Then again handler mapping will handler mapping will send the controller name to the dispatcher servlet. Dispatcher servlet will identify the controller name and send the same request to the controller class. Then controller class will send the request to the service. Then service will call the DAO class will interact with the DB and find out the result will send to the DAO class. Here that is my request from dispatcher servlet. That is my request from the controller class. Then service will send the request to the DAO. DAO send the request to the DB. Sorry, will send the DB. Okay. Then DB will send the result output to the DAO class. Again, DAO will send to the response output to the service. Then service will send the output to the controller class execute method. Controller class execute method. Then controller class execute method will be send the object to the view resolver to find out the view name. Using the view resolver will find out the view name. Then using this view name will send the final response to the view. Okay, okay, okay. Just an example, my controller class execute method will return model and view object. Model and model and view object. Return the model and view object. First request is coming to dispatcher servlet. Dispatcher servlet send the same request to the handler mapping. Then handler mapping will send the controller name, C name, controller controller name to dispatcher servlet. Then dispatcher servlet send the request to controller will send the request to call the service will send the DO will interact with database, find the result, send the service will send the response to result to the result to the service, then service will send the result to the controller class executive method. Controller class executive method will return the model and view object. Then it will send the response to the view resolver. Using view resolver, find out the view name. View resolver is used to find out the view name. View name. Okay. View resolver is find out the view name. Okay. Then using this view name, you will send the response to the view. This is my view. Final response. That is the response. Response object. That is my response object to the view. Okay. That is my flow. Spring MVC flow. Okay. First one is the one request number one. Second one is C2. Third one is here is 3. Sending request to the controller is 4. That is 5. It is 6. Then sending request to the DB is 7. DB to DA class 8. DA to service 9. Then service to controller is 10. Then controller to view resolver is 11. Final output is 12th. That is the 12th number request. Okay. Then we'll go to the slide. It is the next question we will discuss. Okay. What are the main components in the Spring MVC? Dispatcher servlet, handler mapping, controller, view resolver. Then third question is how many container are there in Spring application? There are two controllers actually. One is the IOC container. IOC container is created by the context loader listener that is configured in web.xml, and web container it is created by the dispatcher servlet that is also configured in web.xml. We'll see how many container are there in Spring MVC. There are two type of containers: IOC container created by the context loader listener, web container created by the dispatcher servlet. Dispatcher servlet is the entry point of our application. It will send the particular request to the controller by using handler mapping. Okay, these are the three questions we discussed. First one is the bin component. Second one is the Spring MVC flow. What are the main component in Spring MVC? Third one is the how many containers are in the Spring application. We'll go to the next question. next video.